Hi everyone, welcome to our next episode of Sunday Prep. We're back again in our reflection upon the readings for this Sunday, and that is the 25th Sunday in Ordinary Time. And as I'm actually looking on the calendar, what do we have? 8 Sundays, 9 Sundays left before the Ordinary Time comes to an end. We have 33, so that's eight. That makes it eight. So you see how the time actually goes quickly. Okay. As we begin this video, I'm gonna say actually something extra for you to do and start thinking of all that the ordinary time has given us. What was changed in your life? What the Lord said to you that brought you to like, all right, it's time to do something different. It's time to change it. It's time to fix it. It's time to do something more on my journey of holiness. So I hope this kind of questions will be actually starting to be more asked, and I hope you'll see the beautiful work that you've done already, following Christ. And today, as we are guiding, we'll talk a little bit more about the gifts and how much the Lord has entrusted to us. But before we go any way further, Jim, how are you doing today?
I'm doing well, Father. Thanks. It is, yeah, very strange to think about ordinary time, only, a handful of weeks left, which then you're like, okay, and then Advent, and then it's Christmas, and then we're talking it's blizzard season, and then it's all of a sudden we might as well be thinking about Holy Week, and it's just like it just on and on and on. Yeah, in fact, there was even just yesterday, like conversation about like save the date for Christmas. Some and I'm like Christmas. It's like still some, but here we are. Yeah, it does. It moves really fast. Like the liturgical calendar keeps you moving. I know you and Father Zega probably planning out and thinking ahead to like what is going to be the Lenten theme for something, or and like your brain is three liturgical seasons ahead to kind of like keep pace with all the stuff. But yeah, it moves fast, and if you're not paying attention, it'll just run right past you. So yeah, it's a good thing that you just said, like think about like what's ordinary time been, and yeah, I might have to think about that because the immediate answer is like not what it probably should have been, but that's okay. That's like most seasons of my life. But yeah, besides that, things are overall pretty good. It's yeah, settling in nicely for the school year. For the parish life is yeah, I think we're just about in full swing for just about everything. Just a few more programs are going to start up soon, but yeah, it's like, business as usual in the best way possible. So that's good.
It is, and as you said, everything is almost at a full strength, and it's going. There'll be many opportunities for us to learn a little bit more about our faith, our journeys of everyday life, how to take them upon with our faith. So I hope you do try, at least try. To see something more, especially when it comes to the scriptures that are for you too, for your everyday life. Now let's go back to our scripture readings, and this weekend we are coming to, as I said, even in the previous videos, we're going more and more into that reflection. To ask ourselves, what was given and what was done to us, and this Sunday, Cho is asking us a little bit more and talking to us a little bit more about this beautiful gifts that we receive. But before I go into the reflection, let's hear the reading from the Gospel, or part of it, I should say, from the Gospel of Saint Luke. In the second half or second part of it, we'll hear these words. For the children of this world are more prudent in dealing with their own generation than are the children of light. And and then it goes a little bit more, but I want to focus on that. Why is it then even our Lord Jesus mentions something like that? And of course, he speaks to the people of his time, 2,000 years back. and he speaks to the people who do not have everything like we have right now, predicting the weather. Even though those apps are kind of sort of nothing to advertise, or technology, or vehicles, or transportation of all sorts. We have so much more that are of our help, of our for our disposition every single day. And so it might seem that for us today it's easier to deal with things of our everyday life than it was for the people who did not have the phones, did not have the emails, text messages, AI, computers, cars, planes. None of that was available. None of that was there. The only thing that they had was donkey, carriages, and well, maybe doves. That they were sending the mail. But none of that is to compare with us today. However, there is so much more to compare actually, because the more we have, the more opportunities open up, the more chances for us to do something different, to help, to embrace, and to use it. And that's why the times might be different. The times have been changing for the last 2,000 years, but this sentence will never get old or will never expire because we know we learn how to use the things of our time. And yes, they are giving us so much more opportunity. It gives us so much more possibility. But yet, the question is, how do we use them? And do we really use them? Because everything of this generation is presented to us, yes, more and another difficulties arise with that. But how do we use all that was with all that is? All that was and all that is. See, that's just it. I see that history is a little or some way pushed to the side because it's the history. But see, that's the reason why we have the history to learn from it. See, the gift of time that was given to us is for our disposition. And that disposition should be of our help in any moment, any situation, any problem, any trial, anything that comes along the way of life should be used. And it's there for us to be used. But how much we do use it, or should we rather put it on the side? Okay, let's deal with it, do whatever we can, and whatever happens, happens. See, the gift of time is more than just the life that we have. It is the time, the gift that goes what was and what is and what will be. And we need to be mindful of that. So this sentence for the children of this world are more prudent in dealing with their own generation. Yes, well, see, that's exactly. We know our problems, we know our trials, struggles, everything of today. But what if we extended that very use time of 10, 20, 30, 100 years and use it all together. And that's exactly where not only the history, our history, comes along, but also the scriptural teaching and lessons and everything that comes. And why Jesus in his teaching says, the children, then the children of light, because the children of light use more than just the gift of this time, not only the gift of the history, but also the wisdom of heaven. And all of that together helps not only to grow in prudence, not only how to grow in wisdom and knowledge, but also are helpful with the burden that comes with struggles and trials and everything that comes along the way for the future, for all that comes next. And so, that's why we're being brought into a meditation once again to all the things that we receive and see what they will bring to us today and all of them that will help us in our future. Not only the one that will continue here on earth, but also to enter into heavenly reality. And so I hope, those little things that quite often are pushed on the side will truly be the great things of your life, of others, and of course, to the glory and praise to God, our Heavenly Father. I'm going to pass it on now to Jim.
Okay. So I have a couple scattered thoughts, and I don't know if any of them make any sense, but I'll give it a go. And maybe it's fitting with kind of the thoughts in my head that they're kind of scattered because I'm lacking in something. All right, so prudence seems like it's the theme of the weekend, perhaps, right? It's mentioned by the Lord a couple of different times in the Gospels. And so it kind of leads to like asking certain questions, at least for me, about like, what exactly is prudence, right? And so, trying to offer some clarity, prudence is the use of practical reason to kind of make good choices, right? So it's like being able to decide like what's the best choice in this moment, kind of when I have to do a certain thing, right? Like so like the best choice in life is to like love the Lord and to love your neighbor as yourself. Great. It's like Thursday at 9:30 in the morning. What do you mean? Like right now? Like what do you want me to do right now? Like okay, so prudence is like how do we practically take that high lofty command of the Lord to love God and love neighbor and kind of like break it open to like practical things. And there's something that kind of comes to mind here, which is that the Lord is interested, I think, in like the nitty gritty of the day, the nitty gritty of like our lives and of the world. And it's easy to make the mistake to kind of think about the Lord only in the context of like the high, lofty ideals of, just love God in this very general, kind of like vaguely perfect way, and love neighbor as yourself, again, in this vague thing. And, kind of not realize that God is actually in the nitty gritty, like practical realities of the day. And so, like, the virtue of prudence kind of comes in with this because, you might think of something like, what's the ideal thing that I could do with my time today? Like, would it be for me to spend the next like 14 hours just like in the church on my knees in prayer? Well, that might be really nice, but it might not actually be the most prudent thing to do because, like, there's students in the school that are expecting me to show up in a couple of hours to teach them something. There's like my kids are going to want to ride home from school. There's like my wife who's going to want some sort of like companionship at home and conversation and, help with some household chores and, whatever. And so, you know, is it the best? Is it the most prudent thing for me to spend the next 14 hours on my knees in prayer? Well, while that's a lovely, high, beautiful thing to do, in my very particular moment of this particular day, might not actually be most prudent. So, like, what is it the Lord actually wants? Well, for me, in this very weird particular example, it might be something like, yeah, could you take out the trash? Like, do you mind like finishing that email that you haven't responded to that you've been procrastinating on? Like that might be actually the prudent thing to do because in this moment, practical reason and like the right choice is to do that. And maybe it's not like go pray your fifth rosary of the day. Like, and again, I'm not trying to say that we shouldn't be praying because we should be praying always, but there is something to be said for like the practical needs of the day. And if we were to kind of draw up to like the very first reading, we're going to hear about like the poor and those who are struggling and those who take advantage of the poor and kind of persecute the poor because they're poor and kind of not taking care of the practical things that the poor need, And so there's something about, I think, this reading and the whole weekend themes of prudence and kind of a reminder that like it God is in kind of like the particular details of the day, and like just because we're not like on our knees for 14 hours, in the church, it doesn't mean that the Lord isn't present, like on our way to take out the trash. Like he's there. And like that's a good thing. That's a virtuous act because it needs to be done. Because if it's not, then it's just gross and your house smells and whatever. But we have to do these things, not because we're just like, bound to a life of misery and chores, but because the Lord in some ways like orders them towards like a higher good. And so while we should engage in serious intentional prayer often as best as we can, we have to also be mindful of like the practical realities of the day. And then also not be, I think, a sense like feeling guilty of like, because I'm not a like for me, I'm a husband, a father, I have a job and I do things and I have responsibilities. I'm not a monk. Like, and if I were a monk, then yeah, 14 hours a day, that'd be my that'd be my thing. Um, but I'm not a monk. I'm just a guy, and most of us aren't monks and cloistered, religious. And so we have to kind of engage with the day to day of the world. And even you as a priest, like you have your commitments to prayer and the sacraments in a ministerial way, but you also like you and Father Zig are like, okay, like we need to go like get the oil changed on the car, like because I have to be able to drive in case somebody needs me to do. Like there's sometimes just practical things, and if you neglect those things, they fall apart, and then you ultimately can't serve the bigger mission that maybe the Lord has. So, yeah, maybe there's a reminder this weekend to kind of take a deep breath, realize that God's present in those small little minutia details of the day, and to not feel maybe guilty that like while we're kind of getting through the exercises of laundry, trash, homework, email responses, that like the Lord is still present in some way, somehow in those moments. And that might be actually the good and prudent thing to do, given whatever particular state of life you're in. So yeah, something to think about.
Most definitely, and as you brought it up, the small little things, to build the great ones. Well, that's exactly what it starts from little things. If we're not able to get out of the house, forget about great things, and that's exactly where journey of every single one of us begins. First thing, to get out from the bed, and be able to get ready for the things that the daily life brings. So we see how much of daily life accompanies the gift of holiness, and we are invited to use that, to use them and to use them prudently together with God, with His grace, His presence. So I hope a little bit of openness to the scriptures that we presented will help you to bring that. All of the gifts that the Lord has given you, or the opportunities to be used and to be used wisely and prudently. With that, we'll see you over the weekend, and may God always bless you with His presence and with His love. Have a good day.